Good afternoon. It is Sunday, November 9th, 2025. We are tracking a very significant Arctic outbreak right now across the upper Midwest and the Great Lakes, triggering some extremely serious lake effect snow right now, coming off of Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, Lake Ontario as well. So in this update, we'll be breaking down all those details on who's going to get the heaviest snowfall, how long will it last, and how cold will these overnight temperatures get for some locations. So with that being said, here's a look at the latest satellite imagery here, looking at the entire United States, parts of Canada for this Sunday afternoon, and we can clearly see where the cold air is right now. It's over much of the Great Lakes here, triggering some serious lake effect snow. We'll take a zoom in here in just a bit, but take a note on how amplified the pattern actually is. We got some serious heat building across the Intermountain West here of California, the Four Corners, got some temperatures in the upper 90s in some locations today, all thanks to this ridge of high pressure that is helping to amplify this trough that is moving across the Great Lakes into the Appalachians over the next couple of days, and that's where all the colder air is. Today is a great example of just how extreme the weather pattern actually is, with a lot of warming temperatures across the west, with bittery cold temperatures across much of the midsection and the eastern seaboard of the United States. Here's a closer zoomed in view on the Great Lakes region, and you can see all of this moisture coming in out of the north. We even have some reports of thunder snow with some of this as well, so keep that in mind. We have a lot of instability moving over the Great Lakes because, well, we have some very cold air aloft moving over some very warm lake waters that are in the mid to upper 60s right now, believe it or not, and that really thermodynamically destabilizes the atmosphere. And so that is why we have a lot of this lake effect snow that is coming in out of the north here, impacting northwestern Indiana, and some of this is even moving over parts of Kokomo, Indiana of this given hour, some of those flurries here. And this is going to continue to be the case as this system moves on through and we get colder air moving in out of the north. So expect the lake effect snow to continue for a couple more days here over Chicago, over northern Indiana, as well as the western half of Michigan over the next 48 to 60 hours. So now you might be wondering where all the cold Arctic air actually is for some locations that are anticipating it overnight tonight into the day tomorrow. So here's a look at the latest RTMA data, which stands for real-time meso observations, and we can clearly see with what we have right now, with temperatures already down into the low to mid 20s in some locations. It is definitely bitterly cold out there. But the thing is, this Arctic air mass is not extremely cold. We're not talking about -10, -15 degrees, but relative to the time of the year that we're in. It is only the 9th of November, folks, and it feels like the 9th of January. It is definitely rare to see this. And so all this colder air is going to be moving southward overnight tonight over these really warm Great Lake waters that are also running well above average for the time of the year. So that equates to a net difference value here of significant instability that is going to be moving over these Great Lakes. So now, what is the 24-hour temperature change from 24 hours ago? Well, areas in the orange and yellow indicate temperatures that are running a little warmer today than they were at this time yesterday, but areas in the purple and blue indicate temperatures that are much colder than 24 hours ago. And I'll tell you what, some of these pink colors here indicate temperatures as much as 35 degrees colder than it was 24 hours ago. So that is a big drop in temperatures from this time yesterday, where a lot of you all were seeing temperatures basically in the 60s, 70s, and close to 80 degrees. Well, not today. It is definitely a lot colder, all thanks to where that colder air is right now, and it's making its way southward pretty quickly. Excuse me there. And because of how cold these temperatures are going to get overnight, there are freeze warnings and freeze watches out for much of the southeastern United States, including for the Gulf Coast states and the Midwest. This includes for Oklahoma, northeastern Texas, most of Louisiana, Arkansas, as well as Mississippi. If you are in central northern half of Alabama and Georgia, you are under hard freeze warnings or freeze warnings. Either way you put it, it's going to get extremely cold. It's going to kill your plants, kill crops as well. you don't definitely not want to leave your dog out at all, because the cold weather will definitely impact livestock as well. And of course, for northern Florida, you are under a freeze watch as well, including the eastern seaboard where my sister lives. You're under a freeze warning as well. So definitely a big change in the weather is coming tonight for those areas. There's also winter weather related products, from winter storm watches, winter storm warnings, to winter weather advisories as well for portions of Tennessee along the Appalachians there, for westernmost portion there, Virginia, West Virginia, including for much of upstate Indiana, under a winter storm warning, all thanks to very heavy lake effect snow that could lead to a foot or more of snowfall in a rather short amount of time. So definitely want to be aware of this for sure. Even so, it's early November. Some of you will argue enough if it's even early November, versus here in California where I live, I could argue enough. Is it really November? It might even feel like June here right now. It is very warm in the office outside today. It's currently 80 degrees, well above average for this time of the year. So now, with that being said, let's get to our futurecast model here and take a look at who's going to get the heaviest snowfall, how long will it last, and when the snowfall will actually end for some locations before the colder air actually moves out of the region as well, when the pattern change comes by the middle to the end of this work week. So with that being said, here's a look at the HRRR model, which stands for High Resolution Rapid Refresh. It is a meso model that really finites the detail here and simulates who's going to get the heaviest snowfall based on initial conditions. So we can see overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning, you can see another patch of moderate to heavy snowfall moves across most of Indiana, like Kokomo, Indiana, Indianapolis, as well as central, eastern, in Illinois, Chicago, as well as Milwaukee. Going to get some very intense snowfall bands here. You can see a nice good band here setting up here over Brookfield, Wisconsin. And then as we go forward into Monday morning and Monday afternoon, you can see it all picks up again thanks to instability. Again, this cold air is still in place, much colder than normal actually. And when this moves over the very warm lake waters, that develops instability, right? That's because cold air wants to sink, warm air wants to rise, and they are in balance. So you get instability in a thermodynamic environment like this. And that is why you're going to see a lot of this lake effect snow banding setting up here. And there could even be some snow devils as well, or even snow nados coming off the Great Lakes as well. So keep that in mind here. Definitely a stormy one in some portions here, especially over the northwestern end of Indiana there. That's where you're going to see the worst. And then, of course, along the coast here of Michigan, it's where it's going to also be quite considerably concerning as well. If we actually zoom in a little bit and look at Michigan in itself here, actually, let's go to Indiana, the sector there, South Bend. You're getting a lot of snowfall around, say, 5 to 6 p.m. Central and Eastern Standard Time. So keep that in mind. And then look at it, still snows really heavy. Look at this over South Bend. It's pretty much stalling out at this time for those areas. And then it looks like after that, the snowfall will back off dramatically as we go into Tuesday, but maybe another lingering amount of snowfall, perhaps through late Tuesday into early Wednesday morning before things do taper off gradually. As soon as this colder air moves out, all of this will turn to green, and then any future precipitation will likely be in the form of rainfall instead of snow, which would lead to some flood concerns up here to the north because, well, rainfall on top of snow just exacerbates things. But the good news is you're not going to see a whole lot of rainfall anytime soon, which is really bad for the drought. If you don't like the drought, this is bad news. But if you like it dry after a snowstorm here, it should be looking pretty good. So now, how much snowfall could you see over the next couple of days? And again, very dependent exactly who is going to get the heaviest snowfall. Where are these snow bands actually set up? I said snow fans. Oh my gosh. So that's going to depend on who's going to get the heaviest snowfall. All right. So for an example, let's say Chicago here, and let's zoom in here on a local sector and actually use this map for context. So let's go to local and go to here. And so you can see, well, Chicago on this model, this is the 18Z forecast, Chicago could get 7 inches, but not far to the west, you might only get an inch. South Bend could get 13 inches, some localized areas up to 20 inches of snowfall. That's almost 2 feet of snowfall in about 30 to 36 hours versus you drive not too far to the southwest or to the northeast, you might see only a couple of inches. Going to be very, very isolated here. Keep that in mind. It's not a blockbuster snowstorm where everybody, like say, like the northern half of Illinois, northern half of Indiana gets 3 feet of snow. No, we're not talking about that here. We're talking about isolated areas, and that was part of my snowfall forecast that, hey, these localized areas can get a lot of snowfall for the upcoming fall and winter months. And you could go check out that snowfall forecast after this video. I will have it pinned up here right now. So click on that after this video is over. But long story short, lots of snowfall for northern Indiana. As we go and look at, let's go to here, go to our local sectors and go to Michigan. The state of Michigan, you can see up here, Transverse City up to 7 inches. And then, of course, Lake Huron off the coast here, Serena in Michigan, some areas can get 20 inches. And then, of course, we don't want to forget about our friends living along the northeast here. In Buffalo, you might get 6 to 8 inches. Jamestown, you might get up to about 8 inches of snowfall. But again, I want to repeat, very isolated here. Syracuse here, only 2.6 inches. You drive north here, you can get 7 inches of snow. And then one area here, 10 inches, and you drive north of that, I mean, maybe only an inch. So hit and miss here, but wherever these snow bands set up, you are talking about a lot of snowfall, whiteout conditions, and some strong winds, and even some thunderstorms as well. Now you're probably wondering, why is it so cold across much of the Great Lakes and into the Midwest? Well, you can blame it on our trough of lower pressure that is moving in out of the north, out of Hudson Bay. This is coming in from a cold region, right? Its origins are in northern Canada. All that colder air wants to flow southward here, right? And so what you end up seeing here is a trough of low pressure. That's what we have here. And this is where the coldest air actually is here. And if we actually do a mouse readout here, it's negative 40 Celsius. That's about negative 40, negative 39, negative 41 Fahrenheit at about 18,000 feet above the surface. So that is pretty cold. And when you mix that down to the surface, it's much colder than areas to the west here, like California, where we have this big ridge of high pressure. And when you get a meridional flow like this, where again, you get a ridge back west, and anytime you get a trough in the Great Lakes or the Northeast, you get this north flow that develops here over the Midwest. And what that does is it brings in colder air from higher latitudes down into southern latitudes like the Midwest here. And the ending result here is very cold temperatures relative to average for this time of the year. So now, where's this trough going to go now? So if we move this forward, we can see there is a trough there. Take note, again, very cold temperatures here in across much of the Great Lakes, the Northeast as well, once this trough moves through, even in Tennessee. And yeah, you're seeing it here correctly. The freezing line is very far south into northern Florida for this time of the year. That means the average air parcel is below freezing from the surface all the way up to wherever the pressure level that you're looking for it goes. Okay, so essentially the entire column here is below freezing from the surface all the way up to the tropopause. And that's going to, again, is where our colder air is. That patch of colder air moves out, then things moderate a little bit because now our low level or upper levels have warmed up nicely here. We're back into negative 10, negative 5 Celsius, which seems cold, but when you kind of look at that down to the surface, it's not as cold as what you're seeing right now. And temperatures will moderate a lot more once we go into the weekend here. As you can see, by Saturday, nice good ridge builds in across the Midwest here with any colder air, more than likely for California because of this northwesterly flow. And so what you have here is now negative 7, negative 6 degrees Celsius at 18,000 feet. That transpons down to probably into the mid to upper 70s down here in the deep south. So yeah, things are going to recover really nicely. So now your temperatures, the departures from normal here is as follows. Again, because of that trough of low pressure, you can see definitely well below average temperatures for the next few days here. In fact, some areas, especially like the Appalachians, could have temperatures almost 40 degrees below average, but most likely between 25 to 30 degrees below normal here and across the southeast. And then look at Florida for reference for your morning hours of Tuesday. Temperatures here could be 30 degrees below average, not above average, below average. And it's because, again, that Arctic air mass says it's going to be in place. But look what ends up happening by the middle of this week, by the end of this work week, just in time for my birthday, by the way, which is coming up. If you guys want to send me something special, just email me at weathermandavid1115@gmail.com. Send me a gift if you want, because my birthday's coming up. And you can see for my birthday, for the high plains, definitely going to feel very warm again. Temperatures 30 degrees above average in some locations. So this Arctic air mass will not last very long. It's going to be in and it's going to be out of here very quickly. But anyways, that is all that I have for you all in today's detailed weather forecast outlook and discussion here for the Great Lakes snowstorm that is taking place right now. All thanks to that cold Arctic air that is coming in from higher latitudes that we talked about. If you did find today's weather forecast very helpful, detailed, informative, and life-saving, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, folks. It really, really helps out a lot. We are close to 70,000 subscribers, believe it or not, and I want to say thank you all to supporting the YouTube channel thus far. We're just beyond the 3-year mark, and we are getting closer and closer to 100,000 subscribers, and I cannot wait to get there because we get an award here on the YouTube channel. But that's for another day. But otherwise, thank you all for watching, and I'll be back with you more tomorrow with another update on this snowstorm and Arctic air mass with bigger changes ahead for your weather forecast. Thank you all for watching.